highly probable for them to have a connection with the people involved in the tribe. Second main point, adopting a resolution will create disharmony and more problems may arise. Like I mentioned before, in my first main point, I already explained how our states are made up of small communities, where almost everybody knows everyone. Giving the state courts complete jurisdiction over land disputes will put the court judges in a difficult position in avoiding problems that they may encounter down the line. Problems where judges have to deal with cases that involve people that they know or are related to. Problems where family ties and important relationships are at stake due to judgment that have to be made in the state courts. Having the National Supreme Court take part in land dispute cases help local judges avoid problems that may arise with people that they may know and are related to. This means that family ties and close relationships at the FSM Supreme Court is not a problem because they are from different places and states. Another problem may arise here can be something similar to my country of the Philippines. In the year 1997, President Fidel V. Ramos of the Philippines signed the Republic Act 8371, which was aimed to recognize and protect the rights of indigenous cultural community and indigenous peoples. When this law was adopted, it meant that no outside government court could interfere with land cases. So when the local people had problems about their land, and when the disputes couldn't be solved at the local level, the outside government couldn't interfere, resulting in some now having bloody wars with each other. Sometimes because all of the land issues are settled by locals, even when there is conflict of interest and bias when trying to solve these issues, some people become fortunate over others. Indigenous peoples in the Philippines are using this to their advantages, some teaming up with other indigenous politicians and taking lands from other indigenous people, creating disharmony. This is an enlightenment to showing you some of the possibilities if the proposal was to be passed. Finally, in our interview that we conducted during the preparation of the debate, we found out that if Article 11, Section 6b of the Constitution would be amended, then there would be problems with some of the already existing laws that are put in place. For instance, the clause in the Philippine Constitution, Article 11, Section 6b of the Constitution states, the national courts, including the trial division of the Supreme Court, have concurrent original jurisdiction in cases under the Constitution, national law or treaties, and in disputes between a state and a citizen of another state, between citizens of different states, and between a state or a citizen thereof, and a foreign state, citizen, or subject. The adoption of the resolution defeats the purpose of this clause and the limits the jurisdiction to state courts for exclusive jurisdiction over land issues. Taking away the other clauses where it protects those that fall under the other section of this clause. An example here, for instance, is where it states the National Trial Division and Supreme Court have concurrent jurisdiction over national laws or treaties. Amending this section minimizes the scope of what the already written Constitution covers and has in place. This can affect our economic development too. In our interview with one of the judges from the True State Supreme Court and from the branch manager of the FSM Development Bank back in June, the adoption of the resolution would affect foreign investors from investing in our state because they might not be interested in investing in our nation if they don't know if they can be protected under the Constitution when they go to trial and will need to first build trust in our state court systems. Moreover, the already established process and procedures that the state courts have, the Land Commission of Chuuk have, and the land courts in the other FSM states have on land cases will be shaken up if the amendment was to be passed. This will then mean that there have to be changes in the already established process and procedures for land dispute because of the amendment giving the state exclusive jurisdiction over land disputes. Third main point. Passing the resolution would create a backlog on cases in land. A backlog is a pending case which is held pending before the court for a longer period than the one prescribed. This means that giving the state courts Exclusive jurisdiction will result in the piling up of the land cases and slowing up the process in closing out these cases. In our interview with the Senior Land Commissioner back in June, we found out that all the hearings that they have take place at the FSM Supreme Court. When we interviewed one of the judges of the State Supreme Court, we found out that adopting the resolution will result in having the state courts take care of everything. Land disputes including all hearings. This will only result in cases piling up and hearings not being able to take place. When we had our interview with the FSM Development Bank branch manager back in June, we learned that over the past 10 years, only a few cases on land disputes are solved and the majority of the cases are cold cases all over the FSM. In our interview with the Honorable Chief Justice of the Chuuk State Supreme Court, he mentioned that there are so many cases that exist at the state court, some even from old, even older than the Honorable Chief Justice himself. Keeping the current status quo in where the State Supreme Court and the National Supreme Courts have concurrent jurisdiction over land disputes puts our courts in position where they are both working together in solving these cases. This puts us in a position where the saying says, and I quote, "Two heads is better than one whole true," end quote. Thank you very much.
Proponents, you now have 5 minutes to rebut opponents' main argument. 5 minutes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank our opponents for their arguments. However, we disagree with their points. First, they mentioned that giving state courts exclusive jurisdiction will create a conflict of interest. We find this unacceptable, considering that the state courts won't create a conflict of interest, but rather connect each of the 4 states. By giving state courts exclusive jurisdiction, we are practicing comity. Comity is respect for each and everyone's decisions. In the FSM preamble, it clearly acknowledges the diversity of our cultures. It states, and I quote, "To make one nation of many islands, we respect the diversity of our cultures," end quote. We must allow the state courts to express their constitutional desires. Second, they mentioned that giving state courts jurisdiction will create disharmony. We find this objectionable, considering that giving state courts exclusive jurisdiction will promote nationalism. Land more than commodity is our identity. Our sense of nationalism is shown in our efforts to keep our land, in which our culture is deeply rooted. As written in our preamble, and I quote, "Preserving the heritage of the past," and preserving our land is what true sense of nationalism is. So with all this given, we maintain our strong conviction that the state courts should have exclusive jurisdiction over land disputes. Clearly, if the national court has had jurisdiction since the beginning and issues still arise, then we should amend Article 11, Section 16. Let us be open to change. We've explained the many benefits this amendment can bring. All in all, laws are made for the people. Therefore, they should protect our people. Thank you.
Opponents, you have 3 minutes to respond to your opponents' rebuttal.
Thank you, Roasting, for your rebuts, and I am now gonna do the response. The posting stated that even though there is conflict of interest, there is protect the diversity of the culture. Even though we have those laws and rules, we should consider that even though the laws and rules are there are still big possibilities that those laws and rules can be broken. Like I mentioned in my main point in the first one, conflict of interest. We interviewed with the Honorable Chief Justice himself that he stated they have incidences in having conflict of interest. Even if they have conflict of interest. So with those diversity of their culture, laws and rules, well, how come even now there is still incidences where there is conflict of interest? Why not let this peace not be changed? Because there's still peace right now. There's no troubles within that amendment, within the resolutions. Why change it? What's the reason? If you say we want change, why change the already peaceful? Why change the already peaceful way? Thank you very much.
We will now hear the summation from both sides, and we will begin with the proponent's summation or conclusion, and you have 4 minutes.
Undoubtedly, the amendment of Article 11, Section 60 would inspire local autonomy for state communities, which allows state courts to express their sovereignty in an empowered manner. Summarized once more, this amendment should be enacted because 1. State courts have better knowledge of their local land laws and customs. 2. State courts will be able to preserve the culture of their lands. 3. State courts are more readily accessible to the locals, which will prove efficient in courts. 4. State courts can prevent conflicts between individuals and communities. And lastly, 5. There's comity within our nation as to respect the diversity of our cultures and judicial decisions. First and foremost, state courts have a surplus knowledge of local land laws and customs. In other words, state courts are ultimately familiar with the intricacies of their respective regions, which enables them to make informed decisions that reflect the unique context and needs of their communities. State courts, armed with their knowledge of local land laws and customs, can bridge differences and pave the way for a peaceful coexistence for our peoples. In this way, we can ensure that individuals, especially those without the means to travel long distances, have a fair chance to present their case and seek redress by allocating jurisdiction to state courts. Exclusive state jurisdiction over land cases will also empower individuals to protect their rights, fostering a more inclusive legal system. Additionally, states have specialized courts, offices, and departments that are designated to handle land disputes. On top of that, amending Article 11, Section 6b serves as a powerful tool in conflict prevention. In truth, the current national constitution directly conflicts with the majority of state constitutions. Therefore, by entrusting land disputes to state courts, we promote community-based resolutions. Lastly, the respect between each state's diverse constitutions and land jurisdictions will likely be for the benefit of all FSM citizens. Moreover, the majority of the FSM states, 3 out of 4 to be exact, have clearly expressed in their state constitutions to preserve their local lands for their local citizens. What use is the law if we are not protecting the best interests of our citizens, let alone respecting their rights to freely express their own autonomy? In conclusion, let us not shy away from progress. Let us embrace change, rooted in togetherness and compassion. With every single citizen in mind, let us champion this amendment, for it represents our collective commitment to a more equitable and harmonious future. Thank you.
Opponents, same amount of time allotted to your team for your summation or conclusion. You have 4 minutes.
Thank you again. All in all, these are our 3 main reasons why we should not pass the resolution. Our first main reason was giving the state court complete jurisdiction will result in conflict of interest. due to the small communities we have back into, it is very common for us to avoid conflict of interest. In our two-state Supreme Court, we have a total of 4 judges, in which all are local. With our small community, the case of having conflict of interest would be very common. Second reason was, adopting the resolution would create disharmony or breaking relationship between the two parties. And also, it would affect foreign investors in investing in our nation if they don't know if they can be protected under the Constitution when they go to trial, and will need to build trust first in our court system. And finally, giving the state courts full jurisdiction will create a backlog on land dispute cases, when more files pile up and takes more time to be solved. When we had our interview with Davis MDP branch manager back in June, we learned that over the past 10 years, in the cases of their customers that put land up as collateral, only a few cases on land dispute are solved, and the majority of the cases are cold cases. Although the opposing team's ideas may be valid, we still are not convinced. We think that if we put our ideas in consideration, I believe that we could make a huge change and continue on improving our national and state courts together. I thank you for this opportunity we had to share all of our ideas together in this formal debate. I, Jeremy Lamello, and my partner, Robin V. Sanos, are your advocates for this year's debate. We thank you all, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you, Kalangan and Kisotzabu.
Thank you, Team Ponte and Team Chuk. We are now down to the last segment of the debate now, which is the questioning or remarks from the judges. The judges will be allowed now to ask questions to clarify evidence or any on your presentations that are not clear to them. Now, open for questions.
Debaters, I must say I was very impressed. You both, affirmative and negative team, did an awesome job. It gives us a difficult job here to keep the points or mark the points. But let me clarify from the affirmative team. In your third point in argument, is accessibility to court. There are, the Supreme Court is present at the state level. Would that be accessible to the community in which they exist?
Could you please rephrase your question?
We understand now that the Supreme Court, if the Supreme Court was present at the state level, all the states, your main argument is accessibility by the community. And they have hard time traveling to this court to argue their case.
Stand at the
Please take the
podium.
podium.
So you're asking if locals will be able to access their local Supreme Courts. That's correct, right?
This is correct.
Okay. What we are saying is that it's not always easily accessible for individuals because they may not have the schedule or people to look after their children at home while they're going to those court cases. Because sometimes people don't have the time or resources or even cars to go to the Supreme Court. Because at least for Paducah, right, we can see that the Supreme Court here
is very far from most of the people who live here. Most people live in Colonia or Sobeys or other places. If we want to have improved accessibility, we must put the courts closer to the people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Executive team, I have one question for you. Your main point, first point is conflict of interest. Has there been any situation, circumstances where the state court could not resort to all those options, where the case becomes cold?
Thank you, Honorable Justice, for your question. With our interview with the Honorable Chief Justice for the True State Supreme Court, he only gave us, or he told us that they had encountered a case where the four of them got conflict out and they seek the National Court for help. We only had interviews, but the number of cases they can provide.
Thank you. Appreciate both the answers. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you to both sides. I think you guys did a great job. I think one argument that you guys both shared was the conflict of interest. So this question is mostly for the opponents because, the proponents brought up an issue where the True State Court had 4 judges, local judges, that were either conflicted or had some kind of issue. So in that situation, how would you resolve it? How would you resolve the case? Would it still stay in the state court? Or if everybody is conflicted, what would you do in the case?
Thank you for pointing that out. We would like to say that it would be more preferable to keep the local judges in the court. Because in this case, at least they're all under the same belief system. Not in a biased way, but in a way that is relevant to cultural preservation. If we allow local judges to remain in court, they will be able to resolve the conflict eventually under the same ideas, under the same belief systems, under the same culture. Moreover, the local judges are able to understand the local culture better. If we give the case to the national court, they may not have a better understanding of what exactly may be happening. The intricacies and nuances of the culture may not be grasped by them. Thank you.
Once again, thank you, judges. Thank you, both teams. You guys did a wonderful presentation. And I believe that's the last question from the panel of judges. And that has concluded the second debate for this year. And we will go for a lunch break. And we'll be back here at lunch break for 1 hour. 1:30.
Yeah.
jengala